Hello, welcome. I am Vicky Manitou Okas. I am so glad you're joining me today. In this short video, I am going to propagate some onions from seed. So I saved the bulbs last year and stored them away, and I'm going to show how you create your own seed from onions that you store. And it is not as hard as it seems, but it does take a few things to keep in mind and understand. So, hey, let's get started with this. And I'm going to go through all the way through several different days here until I get them planted in their home for the spring. So let's get started. So last summer in the small raised bed garden outside, I planted a storage onion, okay, and saved a few medium-sized bulbs to replant this year. Now this is a hybrid that I planted. And honestly, we planted it too late in the season to get a really good solid bulb. Usually these are ½ pound to ¾ pound. It's hybrid onions, but they are a rock hard storage onion. It's very, very flavorful, and I'm not going to say what variety it is. But what I'm going to do is a process that's called dehybridization. And you can dehybridize any hybrid as long as it's the same species hybrid. So, and what you do is if you got a hybrid that you really like and you want to dehybridize it, you go ahead and plant those seeds, and then you just keep selecting over a few years to select for the characteristics that you want out of the crop that you're planting. So I saved 3 bulbs from the crop last year that I liked, and I'm going to plant those 3 bulbs. The garden is not ready yet. Got some work to do out there. So I'm going to plant these bulbs in a milk jug. I'll plant all 3 of them in the same milk jug and let them get started to grow. And then I'll decide whether I'm going to actually plant them into a pot later or in the garden in a couple of weeks. But they're looking pretty good, and they look like they need to be planted. So we're going to go ahead and plant those. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut some holes in the bottom of the milk jug so it's got some drainage. Sometimes I use a little drill, but I didn't get that out today. Okay, so the recycled milk jug. I like using the recycled milk jugs for a lot of different purposes. Sometimes I use them to collect rainwater in. I use them also I like to use them for putting transplants in. Or if you need a funnel, that top is a good funnel. Yeah. I don't want to damage anything that's growing in there. That one doesn't look like there's any growth. And this one may not be good, but we're going to plant it anyway. This one, you can see there's a little bit of growth on the bottom of it. The roots are starting to See a little bit of development on those roots. This one, you can see the top starting to grow. And if you take a look at that root, we'll get it to focus. You can see, get it focus. There's a little bit of, there's some root growth right there at the bottom that you're starting to see. Now this one is starting to grow this kind of to the side because of the way it was sitting in the container. So I'm going to set this, I'm going to actually set that so that's a little bit more upright. Not 100%, but okay, so I'm just going to set those into that soil. And then fill in around a little bit. Now that one looks like that it maybe didn't make it, but the other two are going to go ahead and grow. So you just plant these in like you would an onion set. Okay, onions are a biennial, and when you harvest the mature bulbs or a even a set that you buy to plant your onions, that will, both of those will set seed under the right conditions. The mature bulbs definitely will, and most of the sets will bolt and produce seed as well. And that seed can be collected from the mature seed heads and saved for the next year. Onion seed has got about a 2 to 4 year viable life usually. But as long as you can keep the bulbs over the winter and replant them the next year, you can produce your own onion seed. And that's what I'm going to do here. So whatever seed these onions produce, I will plant that out, and over the next 4 or 5 seasons, select for the best bulbs for the characteristics of sweetness and strength, and storage ability, so that I have an onion that I want to grow on out for my own garden. Now, that is one of the ways that you can create sustainability and resiliency in your life. If you're starting with a hybrid seed, you can usually dehybridize it to develop a personal variety that you like for yourself. Then I put the my mix in there of potting soil, organic potting soil, mushroom compost, and sand. And what I want to put in here is my onions that I am growing out for seed, the hybrid onion that I am growing out to produce seed, so that I can create my own onion variety going forward. But that I'm going to put those in here, and that'll be very pretty in that. And then I'm going to fill that in with some salad greens. So let's get started here. Okay, here are the onions. They were starting to grow a little bit, so I went ahead and put them in a container with some soil. So we're going to gently pull these out of here. And you can see that's already just in a week or two, they're already developing beautiful roots. Okay, so I'm going to plant these about 6 inches apart in here. Just pop that right back down in there. Okay. Let's check this one, see if this one's growing any roots. Oh my, even the one that I didn't think was going to grow is growing some roots. So that is good news. So that one will grow too. Okay. And here it is. So I had two of them that were in really good condition, and one of them that is okay. I wasn't sure it was going to grow at all. So we're going to plant these about 6 inches apart. And these will be the centerpiece for this planting, and it'll come up and produce beautiful, beautiful flowers. Okay, that will produce seed later in the summer. Okay, and that'll grow up very quickly. Now, I am going to put some parsley plants in here. That will go ahead and fill out into a nice planting that will be quite pretty by the in another 2 or 3 weeks. Now, one of the things I've got to watch for outside is we've got slugs. So this right here, that's slug damage on that leaf because that was growing outside. So I need to put in a bear trap in here, or some diatomaceous earth, or maybe some wood ash to keep those slugs from attacking those cabbage, because cabbage is a favorite of the slugs in this area. That will go.
So, have you ever tried to save seed from a biennial plant, like an onion? There are other plants that are biennials that you can also save seed from. It just takes a couple of special techniques that makes it a little bit more challenging than annual plants. So, hey, give it a try and subscribe, and tell me what you've tried to save seed from in the comments. And then join me over at Delectable Tiny Gardens, the meeting place for people looking for food and herb resiliency. So, thank you, and I will talk to you next time.